Hello, you're with Lachlan Watt, and music is my life. This week, my guest is Paul Seidel, a brilliant drummer from Germany whose work I've been into for a long time, and a truly lovely guy I've known since performing with his now former band The Ocean on his first Australian tour with them in 2015. I spent a fair bit of time with Paul when I toured The Ocean last year, and I'm now happy to be able to call him my friend. As you're about to hear us get into, The Ocean is one of my all-time favourite bands and one that I have a particularly long and entwined history with. The music hooked me in from a young age with their incredibly deep and thoughtful post-metal, which has typically always been the vision and output of just one man, guitarist, composer, lyricist, manager, and all-around mastermind Robin Stapps. After joining for the touring cycle of their iconic Pelagial album back in 2013, Paul became one of the few members to actually contribute writing material, including several of the tracks on the 2020 record Phanerozoic 2, such as this one. But before The Ocean, Paul played for a metalcore band called War from a Harlot's Mouth, and back in 2009, I was really into their second record, In Shoals. Now, after Paul officially stepped down from The Ocean earlier this year, and knowing that he was about to have a lot of time up his sleeve, I approached him about playing drums for my band Run's new material, and I explicitly asked him to pay tribute to the killer opening drum fill that you just heard on one of our tracks. Anyway, it's time to get into all of that and more. My name is Lachlan Watt, music is my life, and now I give you my conversation with Paul Seidel. Cheers.
Good to see you, man.
Yeah, you too. How's life?
Good. Pretty chill right now. I just came back from Lisbon, short trip to continue my tattoo, my sleeve. How are you?
Yeah, really good. I'm happy to have some new tracks out. Feels good.
Yes.
Finally.
Congratulations on that.
Yeah, thanks, man. Thanks for being a part of it. Is it your first session job in a little while?
Yeah, actually, yeah. I don't even remember the last one I did. It's been a while. I used to do that a bit more often, but it got a bit tricky with all the touring and giving lessons in between and stuff. I didn't really have much energy and time to do different sessions. But yeah, I think around 2016, 17, 18, I was a bit more active in that regard. So it's nice to actually be able to do that again.
Nice.
Cool.
I'm really stoked with what you did with the songs. Sounds like you had a fun
Thank
time
you.
with them.
I did, yeah. I went to I think I told you I went to the Daily Hero Recordings studio, which is now sort of defunct because they had to move out because the rent was raised and they didn't really want to pay as much anymore. So This was sort of I was actually there 2 days before they had to move out. So this was the last opportunity for me to work in that specific room, where we also recorded a bunch of War from a Harlot's Mouth stuff and some Nightmare stuff as well, some Ocean stuff as well.
So
So
it's
yeah,
got a bit of history for you.
yeah, exactly. This was the last recording in that room for me, basically.
I did want to mention War from a Harlot's Mouth, just because of that
You did
fill.
not, or you did?
No, I did want to, just because that fill at the start of In Shoals. I've always loved that fill, and I gave that to you as a reference for like how you could kick off Ash, and then you did like that, but just like turbocharged, and
Exactly, yeah.
the timing of it all like is just chaotic. And when you first sent the files over, I was like, oh fuck, I kind of felt bad for our drummer having to learn it. And
Yeah. Who are you playing live with, actually?
got a guy called Daniel Van Twest who's been playing
Yeah,
drums with us for the last. He did the last tour we did last year and a couple of shows in Melbourne. Yeah,
yeah.
he's going real good. He hasn't done
Nice.
anything like particularly big before or whatever. He used to be in this thrash metal band called Harlot that went on to
Yeah,
put out some records on Metal Blade, but I think he left that band before that happened.
yeah. I think I remember that name actually from a while ago.
Yeah, bit of a blast from the past. But like to his
Yeah,
credit, he nailed the fill. And then
nice.
when we started rehearsing like for these upcoming shows like the other week, it was actually the rest of us that couldn't get our heads around it.
Yeah.
Just like because it's like what like a 5/4 and then it's like a 4/4 or something. Like the timing is strange.
Yeah, the accentuation is a bit off, sort of. Yeah.
Yeah. So
Yeah,
so
I'm happy you like it.
yeah. So he had it nailed, but we're like none of us could get like we're all just like too sloppy with all coming in together. So we actually had to get him to dumb it down. So like he does the little fill like you do, like the brrr, and then
Yeah.
then it's like turns into like a something that you can actually count in four
Yeah.
instead, just to keep it a bit more simple
I
for
don't
us
know.
live.
I don't know if I should feel sorry now. Sorry, guys.
No, it sounds great. I'm really happy with it.
Thank you. I appreciate it. It was a lot of fun. It's been a while as well since I've played like fast stuff. I think the last really fast recordings, apart from some of the ocean stuff, was in 2020, when I recorded the last Nightmare album. So it was really nice to get back in that kind of beast mode,
Yeah.
you know, to
Do you,
speed it up a bit again.
did you find yourself sometimes getting a little bit perhaps bored or just restless playing the sort of mid-tempo
Um,
slow ocean stuff all the time?
Not necessarily. I mean, there's a lot of challenging stuff regardless. There's a lot of I mean, there's fast double pedal action in there and some weird stuff and some blast beats as well, but not in the consistent way that it is in Nightmare, for example, where it's basically 4 minutes fast blast. Um, I I do miss that sometimes. I mean, I'm still kind of practicing that stuff, to not really lose my ability to play it. Um, but yeah, since I haven't been really touring with Nightmare as well, it has been a while since I've been active in that regard.
So
So
is
yeah.
Nightmare an active band still?
Oh yeah, for sure. We're actually writing new songs right now, currently, which is also it's been a while, Even if we released the last album in 23, I think, or yeah, 23, and last year we did the kind of reformed version of it. Um, this was all material that's been written in 2020. So now we're getting back behind the creative wheels, sort of.
So you think now that you're not doing the ocean that there might be some more time for Nightmare, or is it still going to kind of go at the pace that it's always gone?
You mean in regards to touring or in general?
Yeah, I guess both.
Um, I think we're at a stage right now where we just really want to write music and be creative together. We don't have any big touring plans, but we just want to be sticking our heads together again. And Simon and me have always been kind of creative digitally as well, since he's now living in the US in Portland, and I don't get to be creative in person with him very often. So we're kind of just sending over ideas and bits and bobs, basically. And he has been or had been in a kind of creative block for a while, which now has vanished, sort of. So yeah, it's nice to be working on music again for this project, you know.
Because you guys, like, he used to be in War from a Harlot's Mouth as well, right?
Exactly, yeah. Correct. Yeah. We basically started Nightmare right after the the last shows of War from Harlot's Mouth in 2013. And then yeah, just got going.
Is War from a Harlot's Mouth touring with the Ocean how you ended up getting involved with the Ocean in the first place?
Yeah, I think so. It's funny because we kind of I don't want to say steal, but we kind of stole Nico, the singer from the Ocean, because he was our former War from Harlot's Mouth singer, kind of quit the band after we had played a release show for, I think it was Transmetropolitan, actually, the first
Mm.
album. And he wanted to focus on his studies and stuff like this. So we were kind of in a dilemma that we didn't have anyone for the tour that had already been booked. And Nico offered to fill that spot, so he had to sing 2 shows a day. And the first time we rehearsed together was on stage, basically. And then yeah, we just continued kind of working together. And after some time, he continued touring with the Ocean as well for, I think, almost 2 years. But then it just got too much to be a fixed member of War from a Harlot's Mouth.
Yep.
And then I think once we announced that we would go on a hiatus, yeah. Robin called me and just said, "I heard you're a free spirit right now. How about you play in the Ocean?" And that's how the story goes.
So when that first happened, like, the Ocean has obviously, before your era of the Ocean, went through quite a few members. Did you
Mhm.
expect going into it that, it might just be a temporary thing and then you just blinked and all of a sudden 12, 13 years had passed? Or what was the perception of that like for you?
Sort of, yeah. I mean, I in the beginning I was considering myself more of a almost like a session musician, you know. I got paid to play gigs and didn't really have any, let's say, creative ambitions to be more involved. But yeah, we just kept on touring, and then we started writing some stuff. You know, then I think 2015, we released Quiet Observer for this split with Mono. That was kind of the first creative output that we had, and then another 3 years passed basically until 2018. So I was in the band for 4 years without really being creatively active and involved.
Yep.
That really only got more solidified in 2018 when we wrote Phanerozoic 1 and 2 at the same time. Yeah.
So in terms of everyone that's been in the Ocean, obviously everyone knows that Robin writes the bulk of the music, but you've probably written
Mhm.
like the second largest contribution to the band, right? Would that be correct?
I don't know. Honestly, I don't really know how many of the previous tracks had been written by other members. I
Yep.
know that on, I think, Anthropocentric, there's a couple tracks that Jonah Nido wrote, the
Mm.
previous guitarist, who's now in Coil Guns. Other than that, I'm not sure. Maybe I wrote like three and a half songs. Holocene is basically Robin and Peter together. So if you consider that a contribution by Peter, that's
Pretty significant.
six, 7 songs or something.
Yeah.
So yeah, we've had our creative share, I guess. Yeah.
So, what do you think it was about the era of the ocean that you were around for that allowed it to kind of get the stability that it had for so long?
Mm, it's a good question, actually. I think it's always um, uh, the amalgamation of people in the group. You know, if you have 5, 6 people who just click together and who play well together and who get along and have a good time on the road and kind of feel like they can do this thing together and despite whatever happens and whatever adversity you're facing, you know, this always is a big contribution to being a solid lineup in any band. So in this regard, I think it just really helped that we were people who kind of got along well, you know, and who had a similar kind of outlook on what we wanted to do musically and where we wanted to go with it. Um, but I think it definitely also helped that the band was doing better, also financially. You know, it's always very difficult to find dedicated musicians who want to spend this much time on the road without being able to pay them accordingly.
Yeah.
So I think in the beginning, in any project, you know, if you have a band that's starting from the ground up, it's not so easy to have members who really want to contribute
Yeah.
on a long term base, basically. So I think that really helped, and I think the two things working together, kind of, you know, there was also the pandemic, obviously, which added another 2 years of being in a band without being really
Yeah.
active.
Without it really counting.
Yeah. So in that regard, yeah, I don't know. It's yeah, that's my opinion.
So, after all those records and adventures around the world, what led you to the point of deciding that your time in the band was up? Because it sort of seems
Mhm.
like it coincided with a few other people's times coming to an end. How did that all unfold?
Um, it unfolded over the course of 2 years, I would say, slowly but surely. Mm, I think, especially during the pandemic, I kind of, for the first time in almost 2 decades, had the time to be home and experience life not on the road, um, just being on my own and exploring different aspects of my life that I didn't really have the time for before. Um, and in addition, I think the intensity of touring really just got to me at some point, both physically and mentally, to a degree where I was sometimes sitting on stage and just really wanting not to be there, you know.
Mm.
Um, and those were really obvious signs for me that something needed to change. And yeah, I think it was also just the creative aspects to some degree that we didn't really agree on anymore or didn't really vibe with me uh, anymore. Uh, Different things coming together, you know. And obviously, it wasn't an easy decision for me, which is why it took almost 2 years
Yep.
to make it and also to communicate it. You know, it's a big part of my life. It's a big. It's also my job in a way. You know, I'm earning my living with it. But yeah, I think in the end, I decided for my own well-being, and I'm actually happy about it
So
that
you're
I did it.
enjoying life more now that you're not having to worry about being on tour at all?
I wouldn't say more necessarily because, of course, touring can also be very fun and enjoyable. Certain aspects of it obviously suck big time, like, especially the exhaustion and the continuous being on the road and not being home and stuff like this.
Mm,
But there's, of course, also parts that I do enjoy. I would say I enjoy it differently with the new perspective now. Um, I've been I've been keeping it pretty low in the past couple of months, not really doing too much and just trying to take it slow, come to a halt in a way, and finding creative sparks again, to see what happens. I'm just really kind of letting things happen right now,
mm.
letting things come at me in a way.
Yeah. Instead of just having to stick to a rigid schedule, you can just chill for a bit and see what happens. And eventually, you will
Yeah.
probably end up back on the road in some capacity, I imagine, when the time
I
is right.
probably might.
Yeah.
I really enjoy being on tour, but yeah, I don't have to play 150 shows a year
Mm,
to enjoy touring. Yeah, it's a thin line somehow because on one hand you're kind of, especially nowadays with the streaming disaster, I would say, and bands not really being able to generate much money with physical releases anymore. You're kind of forced on the road to make a living because that's where most of the money is nowadays.
yep.
Um, but then, you can't really you can't really do that 365 days a year. Otherwise, you're just gonna drop dead after 2 years. So
Well, yeah,
it's difficult.
the ocean gave it a red hot go. You guys toured really bloody hard for a long time.
Oh yeah, for sure. Yeah, we've been everywhere for, especially after the pandemic when it was possible to tour again. We just went full on. Let's go, because we just didn't know how long it would last. We kind of played a handful shows. I think it was in 2021 when there was sort of hopes that things would kind of slow down and go back to normal. And we played some, I think, 2 or 3 shows with people wearing masks and just a very distant kind of feeling. And then they shut it down again. So they kind of gave us a little treat, and then took it away again. So in that regard, we were just really hungry to get back on the road again, and then really went full on, just took every opportunity. And people also were really hungry for shows again. So
Yep.
it felt like a, a good solution somehow.
So, like, it seems like Robin's kind of always made a point of taking the ocean to just about every corner of the
Hmm.
earth, playing in some really crazy places that a lot of bands don't usually go to. What sort of stands out to you as like the most wild country that you experience because of the ocean?
Um, I, I, I mean, for me, the whole we did a Siberian Traps tour in 2019, um, where we went to Belarusia and Georgia and Armenia, and then did, I think, 2 or 3 weeks of touring in Russia, and from the east to the furthest part in the west in Vladivostok, with weird train rides and just brutal conditions sometimes.
Mm,
But yeah, we also went to Kazakhstan, for example. We played 3 shows there. One of them in I think we played in front of 9 people or something because there was just no scene at all.
mm.
But just being in these places was very rewarding and humbling in a way, just to see the different societies as well and the countrysides and yeah. And this and also South America was really really nice. We did a couple shows in Chile, in Brazil, in Argentina. We went to Mexico. We went to Ecuador, Colombia. Yeah, I think Ecuador was actually one of my favorites because we had a couple of off days there as well. 2 or 3 off days. We went on top of a volcano and into the rainforest, and it was really nice. Yeah.
Nice. Yeah, I've done all sorts of touring in my life, as I'm sure you know, like the big European festivals, and then like the big bandwagon in the US playing headline shows every night. But I still think like the
Yeah.
most valuable and rewarding touring I've ever done is the DIY tour I did in Asia, which was my first
Yeah.
international tour, and then also did some touring in India once, which was a real eye opener.
hmm For sure. Oh yeah, India is also a very special place. Yeah, it's a different world,
Yeah,
literally.
I think that's the
Yeah.
sort of touring that really opens your mind and widens your perspective and humbles you, and
Yeah, totally. Yeah.
makes you just a more sort of wholesome and appreciative and understanding person on so many levels.
Yeah. I think in Europe when you kind of do your first European tour, it's always humbling already because there's just so many different countries within a very short distance in a way,
Mm.
where people speak different languages and have different cultures and um, different food and stuff. So you kind of get an idea of what it means to be in a different country and how everything is connected in a way through music as well. But then if you go, like you said, to India, which is just a completely different vibe, much much fuller. There's so many more people there, like 1 billion people
Mm.
compared to 80 million in Germany. It's just a different level of chaos and intensity that you can't really find anywhere else. So yeah, I feel that.
Yeah, so the Ocean just played their first show without you
hmm
at Hellfest, and like it seemed like you guys made your announcement, and then what, you had like 6 to 8 months until your final show, so it was like a really long process of pulling off the
hmm
band-aid. And then everyone except for you sticks around for Hellfest for like one
Yeah.
more show. They just couldn't get enough. They weren't ready to say goodbye yet, but you were. What's the story with that?
I don't really know, honestly. I don't really know how to answer that because I mean we kind of internally obviously communicated this way before announcing these last shows. So in a way, this was pretty clear to us already. The way of communication, I probably would have handled it differently, but that's the way it was handled, and I just really, I just really did need to make the cut for me personally.
Yep.
There was, I just really needed to say this is it, because there's always gonna be another show that comes in, and
You're like, oh,
there's
that'll
a
be a cool show. Like one more, just
yeah,
one
yeah
more.
there's always something coming up if you're sort of established as a band,
Mm.
and you have a booking agency and there's festivals and there's bands touring. There's always going to be some kind of opportunity for you to jump back on the road. And for me, it was just if there's one thing I don't need right now is to play more shows, and I'm gonna have to say no to this. And
Yep.
I guess the others had a different opinion on this, and fair enough. I think they had a great time playing these last shows, and it looked fantastic. The Hellfest show looked fucking amazing. So I'm happy for them that they had this big last blast farewell show. Um,
So who's the
yeah,
drummer that stepped in to fill your shoes?
He's his name is Jordi Farey, I think. If I pronounce it right, I don't really know. I think he's from Spain, or he's Catalan, if I'm not mistaken. And he lives in Leipzig. He also plays for Crippled Black Phoenix, if I
Oh yeah.
am correct, and another band. Yeah, so he's been kind of visiting Berlin to rehearse and practice the set and stuff like this. Yeah, that's all I know about him.
Yeah, right. Did I'm not sure how much of this story of mine you know, but did you know that I was on the short list for becoming the Ocean's vocalist at one point before you were even in the band?
I did not know that. Was that before Loic joined, or?
Yeah, so you know, when they did the vocalist search that ended up resulting in Loic joining the band,
Yeah,
Robin put the word out to the whole world,
yeah,
and there was like
as he does.
a questionnaire to fill out, and like all different bits and pieces to upload. Like he wanted like live footage and just like answering questions about what type of music I'm into and
Yeah.
this and that. And like Robin and I had already sort of known each other for a bit because I'd interviewed him for an old magazine that I used to work for
Hmm.
because I'd become completely obsessed with the ocean from the moment I heard Aeolian.
Yeah.
And I recorded,
You go way back.
yeah, I recorded vocals for The City and the Sea, and then
Oh wow.
a couple of the tracks off Fluxion,
Oh wow.
and and I sent everything through, and then I just didn't hear anything for like maybe like 4 or 5 months or something. And I'm like
Yeah.
emailing Robin, going like, "What's going on?" And it was just like, "We're still trying to make a decision. Like, you're on the
Yeah.
short list, so potentially kind of
Yeah.
get ready." So I was
You
working
were
my
getting
ass
ready.
off trying to like pay off my debt and get some like money in the bank. So I like at like 22 or 23 years old, I was potentially like ready to just drop everything and move to Berlin.
Yeah. Oh wow.
And then eventually they went with Loic because he's obviously got a much more developed and powerful like singing voice than I. And
Mm.
Robin said like, look, if we were going in the same direction as, you know, like Fluxion, Precambrian, Aeolian,
Yeah.
then you would have been great. But we want to take it this way. So,
Yeah.
and this guy's way
Wow. So you
better
would
at
have
that.
actually
So
moved to Berlin.
yeah, that was the plan. And in hindsight, very glad, you know, that it worked out like it did, because I think that would have probably been pretty bad for me. Just
Yeah.
going over to Germany and saying like goodbye to, you know, like my home networks and friends and just stability and everything, to just go and
Mm.
be told what to do in someone else's band. Like it could have gotten fucking dark. Who knows?
Yeah, but Berlin is also a great place for creative people, you know. I'm pretty
Yeah,
sure you would have set a foot here as well. So, but I mean, who knows? Now
yeah,
I
yeah.
think
You never
your
know.
life took many amazing turns, regardless. You know.
Yeah, and if anyone is listening and curious about that, if you track down my SoundCloud, you can find my audition demos. They're still up there.
Oh, really? It's
Yeah.
up there. I want to listen to
Yeah,
that.
I like back when I first did them, though, I was like more proud of them than anything else I'd recorded vocally before.
Yeah.
Um,
22. How old are you now?
uh, I think I was 22, 23. I'm 37 now, turning 38 soon.
Yeah.
So
All
a long
right.
time ago.
Yeah, for
And then yeah,
sure.
from there, I started talking to Robin about getting the ocean to Australia, and
Yeah.
the first attempt at doing that fell through because just the production demands that he had were just like,
Yeah.
This is going to be like absolutely ridiculous sums of money."
What production demands? I don't know what you mean.
Yeah, and it was just like, and you know, like I was a DIY promoter, and
Yeah.
I got one of my mates who was like a professional lighting guy to kind of have a look at the requirements, and he's like, "This is going to be like
Yeah.
thousands of dollars a night. Like,
Yeah.
this is completely insane. you should not be doing this. And I'm like,
Well, you gotta keep the quality up, right?
yeah. So I was like,
Somehow.
hey, Robin, how about, we just hire like a lighting guy to use house lights and just hire one or two things. And it was like
Mm,
no, like this is where the band is at now. We have to have it this way or the tour can't happen. And I'm like, well, sorry, tour's not happening.
yeah.
And then the band ended up coming a couple of years later with a promoter who ended up ripping them off, and they played with house lights every night. And it was just
Yeah.
like, you could have done it.
Yeah, I remember that story. Yeah, true.
It was funny.
Well,
My old local band, Nuclear Summer, ended up getting paid more money to support on a couple of those shows than the Ocean ended up getting for like the entire tour, and the Ocean had paid for their flights. So it was all a big clusterfuck.
yeah. Luckily, things have evolved a little bit since
Yeah.
then.
But
You
it was,
know.
so with all that in mind, it was very, very satisfying for me to be able to bring you guys out here last year and do it
Yeah, for
properly
sure.
with the full production,
Yeah,
and
it was a
actually
great tour.
nail it this
It was a
time.
great run. Yeah,
Yeah.
thanks for having us.
Yeah, no, it was good. It was a real like leveling up moment for me.
Mm,
Just being able to be like, okay, I actually can facilitate shows with proper production
yeah.
and cool shit
Did
like
you
the Ocean
did
does.
you uh did you plan from the beginning that you would be on the road with us, or
Um,
was that as kind of a spontaneous decision?
I can't remember exactly, but I know that uh, Robin wanted someone to do merch, and we needed someone to drive Cave In, and I was kind of just looking for ways
Yeah,
to make the budget make more sense.
yeah.
And yeah, I guess I kind of just really wanted to meet Nate Newton, and I was like, all right, I'm coming on tour.
Yeah. This guy's on the tour. I'm coming.
Mm,
Understandable. Yeah, it was a good run for sure. I think we also did New Zealand, right? Yeah,
yeah, I think you did that before.
we did that before. And before that, we did Southeast Asia and China. So it was an interesting summer for sure. And afterwards, we went to Dubai actually to play one more show, and Istanbul.
Do
Yeah.
you have a favorite show that you remember from that tour?
Um, to be honest, no, I don't. I just always it's difficult for me. It's always difficult for me to remember shows in Australia because the whole travel logistics and jet lag thing always plays a very negative role in my memory somehow.
Mm,
You know, I do enjoy being in Australia, but the shows themselves, I always need to see pictures to remember somehow because it's all a blur. You know, I usually Melbourne is the best show on the tour for us. Melbourne or Sydney are usually the highlights, just in terms of outcome and audience attendance. It's usually the better ones.
yeah,
Um,
I thought the Pelagic Showcase show in Melbourne, we
oh
had
yeah,
Pelagial in full,
sure.
was
Now that
fucking
you
sick.
say that, that was a good one. Yeah, I almost forgot that we did that in between playing the
Yeah,
other shows. Yeah, that was a
and then
highlight.
by the end of the tour, became pretty clear to me that the Ocean wasn't going to be maintaining its then current format for that much longer. Like Loic was
Hmm.
blowing up, just like being like drunk as fuck, being like, "Fuck this, I'm fucking out." Like, don't tell anyone, shh, but I'm quitting. Like,
Yeah, I think at this point also it was already. I mean, at least for me, it was already clear because I had kind of made my mind up, but we hadn't really communicated anything yet.
mm,
I think for me, it was last year around April or May that I made that decision after being on tour and just being completely wrecked again. And yeah, but yeah, I mean, I still enjoyed the tour that we
Yeah.
did there for
And,
sure.
and and it seems like, you know, you guys were able to end things pretty amicably and like
Yeah,
respectfully and no bad blood.
of course. Yeah, I'm never a big fan of dirty laundry, washing, and
Mm,
talking shit about each other. It's just not my vibe. I want the best for the ocean and whoever joins the band now. It's a great band with great potential, and they will keep on sailing the ship. And whatever else we end up doing will also be something we hopefully enjoy. I'm not sure what Loic's gonna do now. He just moved back to Switzerland with his wife. Um, David just became a father, so he has also has other priorities right now. Um, yeah, and Robin and Matthias are still there. New drummer. I'm excited actually to see who's gonna fill Loic's and David's shoes. That's gonna
yeah.
be very interesting. I have a feeling there's gonna be a couple of surprises in that regard. Yeah, but I don't know.
Yeah.
No idea.
So you mean like potentially like you wouldn't be surprised if some big names stepped in or just
No, I mean more like in a creative sense.
yeah.
Like where the band is going. It could be anything. It could be.
Because the next album's already written, right? But like after that, it could turn into something else. You mean?
I I have a feeling that Robin is also a bit more open-minded in terms of collaborating with other people. So I could imagine just different songs with different people,
Yep.
different kind of creative approach to how to write music with others. But that's just my opinion, my idea of what could happen. I'm pretty sure it's going to get a bit heavier again because Holocene was relatively smooth and I don't know, yeah, easier to listen to, I guess.
Yeah. Well, the ocean was always a massive influence and just like I guess a big part of the mood board for me when I was figuring out what Run was and what it was
Yeah,
going to sound like and what it was going to look like. And I guess I can pretty much credit the ocean almost like 100% for the inspiration for me to kind of get so in depth with the visuals and the
hmm
packaging and all that sort of stuff and just actually trying to make something different and all these multiple kind of layers of meaning to the art and stuff. Like,
yeah, for sure.
I'm,
It's fun.
yeah,
It is a lot of fun. I really, I mean, I've always been involved in the creative process as well, also in terms of artwork and layouting, because I did a lot of layout stuff for War from Harlot's Mouth as well, and Pelagic stuff, like Pelagic Records, visual identity sort of as well. Um, but yeah, working from scratch until having a final product as well is really is I do understand why Robin is so passionate about it because
mm,
it is a lot of fun to
yeah.
create something out of nothing in a way.
I almost enjoy the process of the physical product and the visuals as much as I do the process of the collaborating on the music.
Yeah, I think it just plays into the whole bubble of what releasing music comes with, sort of. I mean, of course, there's many more aspects to it, but
Yeah.
those two creative parts are really integral to how you present yourself as a band as well.
Yeah, and I really miss I don't know if miss is the right word, but like it just really seems like there isn't as many records coming out these days that have that level of depth and consideration to them.
Mm,
But like I just got sent an advanced copy of the new We Lost the Sea album
hmm
recently, and like it I can't remember the last time I got like an advanced copy of an album that actually had like a PDF with it with all the
Hmm.
artwork, because the artwork is that big of a big of an important piece to like the whole thing, and
Oh
it's
yeah,
just
for
like
sure. Especially for this band, yeah.
yeah,
They're very I don't want to say adamant, but this is like if you see a cover of We Lost the Sea, then you know it's this band, you know. You kind
yeah,
of I mean that's how I remember being in music stores as well back in the day, you know, just kind of scroll through the CDs and then you see a sick cover and you're like, holy shit, what is this? I have to listen to this, and then you check it out, you know. So in a way, it it's how people identify with you as well as a band and all the merch as well, you know. I just think there's a lot of, especially now with all this AI stuff, you know, there's a lot of dilution kind of in the artwork world. The illustrators are kind of being pushed aside, you know, people who
mm,
work for music and with music, and they just push a button and then you have an artwork basically. Um, this is kind of, yeah, it's a completely different topic, but I think you
yeah.
know what I'm getting at. It just kind of takes away the fun as well of creating something, being a creative person.
Yeah, it's not so much fun collaborating with a machine.
I think it can be, you know, if you know how to make it a creative process, you know. But if
Mm,
all there is asking a machine to use artwork styles from some other artist, you know, like let's say I want to have a I don't know Van Gogh painting, you know, and then you click the button and then you have it, and I don't know, it's just why why even be creative?
do you use any sort of AI tools for anything in your life?
I do use it because I do use ChatGPT sometimes for structuring my my daily life and kind of writing schedules and organizing myself. Because well, I'm neurodivergent and some things are less easy for me than others. So I use it as a helpful tool in my structuring my life basically. Um, I sometimes I write a lot, so especially the since I'm not a mother tongue English speaker, sometimes I just have some proofreading done to make sure that I'm not completely off the charts with what I'm writing, but
Yeah.
I don't let it write for me. You know, I don't want it to replace my thinking.
I I only really like occasionally I'll ask if I'm really racking my brain for something and just don't want to like go through googling six different things to put it all together myself. I'll ask ChatGPT a question, but generally the only
Yeah,
AI I'm like regularly using is just for editing this podcast
yeah,
and for like putting captions on the reels and stuff for the
yeah.
socials. Like I find that it's just a real time saver. I just like
It is. Yeah,
pure kind of utility and not really like taking away any of the creativity or anything. Or like I guess it's
yeah,
potentially putting like a video editor out of a job, but I couldn't afford
yeah,
that
for
anyway.
sure.
So
Yeah.
whatever.
Yeah, I you know, the idea that AI can help us live a more relaxed life with less labor, you know, um, I find that very intriguing. But to replace the human aspects of what it means to be a human being, you know, like being a creative or having thoughts about things, you know, I think this is a very slippery slope. If you replace that by a machine, then you're just an empty shell in the end, you know, being guided by external input. I don't think that's something we should strive for as a species.
I'll take a page from your book and keep it classy by not naming any names, but like I've seen, just some like cover art and like tour posters and shit lately that are just like
Mm,
quite clearly AI from like
yeah,
bands, and it's just depressing.
it is. Yeah. Um, I find it specifically questionable from bands when they use it for artworks, because if you turn it around, if somebody would create your song, you
Yeah.
would be furious about it. If someone if if some band put out the ocean track made with AI, people would be like, "What is this?"
Mm,
Robin would probably freak out. Nobody wants that. You want to have that aspect of your band be yourself, and just as much as any creative artwork person would want that to be the job that they do, and not some machine. But yeah, I think people disagree on this. So the answer to our questions will lie in the future.
mm. I wanted to just go back into the past quickly and pick up on a thread when you were talking about going through and artwork standing out to you and you checking out a band or whatever because of that. Like, I'm interested to know what were the first kind of handful of bands that brought you into this world.
um, well, I started 2000 in the early 2000s with new metal. You know, I think
Like
one of
like
the
most of us in our age group.
yeah, for sure. I remember I went to a friend's place in Berlin. I was super into hip hop back then. Like German hip hop was really famous back then. I had already been through my techno and trance and electro period, sort of. The whole Love Parade stuff in Berlin. And then I was into hip hop because all my friends were into hip hop as well. Um, and he put on, I think it was the Significant Other Limp Bizkit album with the with the
Yeah, yeah.
graffiti bass cap kind of cover, which I found fucking incredible. And I thought it was the hip hop album, and then he turned on the music. I was just, holy shit, this is fucking aggressive. What is going on here? I never really had any direct contact with heavy music because it was not really part of my upbringing. Um, and this took me by surprise, And then yeah, I just went on from there, listening to Korn, obviously, and all the names you can name in that genre.
Yep.
And from there, I started also playing drums and covering bands. I was super into Deftones as well, and Abe Cunningham's drumming. And then I met Simon from War from Harlots Mouth at some point as well. Slipknot, System of a Down, and then he infused me with the complete madness of Iron Dissonance and the more hardcore stuff, death
Yep.
metal, and just went. I don't want to say downwards because it went upwards from there. It
but
just
but
got
your
more and
your
more in.
the
Yeah.
music got better and your life got worse.
No, my life got better as
Yeah.
well. Actually,
That
I
was
mean,
that was a
I
joke. Probably a bad one.
no, I'm not always getting jokes.
Yeah.
But yeah, I started touring, playing shows and being on the road, and now you're talking to me,
Mm.
basically. Yeah, but I do remember the time when we had a huge music store in the middle of Berlin City called Saturn. Um, and I used to go there all the time because they had these listening spots where you can just put on headphones and put on whichever CD you want to listen to. So I would just check out all the CDs, pick the covers I liked, I once tried stealing a CD, Chimera, the Absolution of Power, I think.
The Impossibility of Reason.
Possibility of Reason, yeah. So, I think it was this one. And I got caught stealing it, so I was
Oh,
banned
bad
from the
boy.
CD store. I
I
was a bad boy.
I had a Chimera shirt from that album that on the back it said "I hate everyone,"
Yes,
and
I saw
I
them. I saw them live with Soulfly and oh fuck, who else was there? It was Soulfly, some other weird mix. I went to Dresden for that. Anyway, you were saying? Sorry.
I yeah, I wore my "I hate everyone" shirt to high school one day on like a free dress day where we didn't have to wear our uniforms, and I just thought I was like the baddest motherfucker ever. And then for my 16th birthday, I flew to Melbourne to see them play with In Flames, and it was
Oh man,
life
nice.
changing.
Yeah, I can imagine. I always wonder how much liberating it is if you finish school and you can wear whatever the fuck you want. Did that really did that have an impact on how you dress, or
um,
I don't know, because in Germany we don't have to
you
wear
don't have
school uniforms,
uniforms,
you know. No,
right?
we can just wear whatever we want, you know. I can go to school and wear a kill everyone shirt, you know. Obviously my teacher might not like that, but I'm not forbidden to do so.
Yeah, I think I've pretty much been wearing a uniform ever since then. Anyway, just black jeans, black shirt, black shoes.
True. You're still in uniform.
I just changed the uniform to one that
Yeah,
I liked, and I got to pick.
true. Yeah. You don't wear the school emblem anymore, but
No,
it's still, yeah, cool. Yeah, the Chimera was a massive album for me as well. Good drumming as well.
yeah,
I also like watching these DVDs back then, you know, like now you can just have everything in one click and you just watch everything, but we used to really like salivate over the the Slipknot DVD or like Chimera studio videos and stuff like this. You know, we used to meet up at our friend's house and just, especially the Slipknot DVD where you could switch through the different camera
yeah.
angles, and
That was
I
so
think
cool. I got
that
that.
was yeah. I don't think anyone has ever done anything this cool since in terms of like live video. You know.
Yeah, like I think by the time the Ocean DVD came along,
Hmm.
it was like kind of irrelevant because YouTube was already rocking and rolling, and I think my copy of the
Mm.
Ocean DVD box set thing is still sealed. I don't think I've
Oh
even
yeah,
opened it.
I think I watched it, but only after I joined the band.
Yeah,
Yeah, I was already into the Pelagial stuff, you know. I remember watching Pelagial being played live in Berlin, knowing that I will join the band, which was kind of fun as well. And then I watched the DVD.
mm.
Yeah.
So what do you have lined up for yourself in terms of music, creativity, performance, otherwise in the coming months? You got much on your schedule?
Um, I don't have a very full schedule right now. I just have a very I have an idea of what I want to do. You know, as I said, we're writing stuff for Nightmare now. I think we want to release some kind of EP later this year. Just a couple of tracks with some contemporary Nightmare stuff. I just went to Peter's place to write some fan music for my project Fan, and I'm gonna be at my friend Jan's place soon to be creative again. No idea where this is going. And other than that, there's not really much on the horizon, which is kind of nice as well. You know,
Mm.
I don't have any tours scheduled. I don't know. Whoever approaches me and wants me to record drums is welcome as well. You know. I'm always up for stuff like this. I just did a Paul Gilbert gig actually in May, which was fun. Just a one-off kind of with lots of preparation. So I'm kind of available to do things, but I'm not forcing it,
Yep.
you know, which is a very liberating feeling.
So
Yeah.
you think you'd be down to keep collaborating and do some tracks for a Run album?
Sure, man. Of course. It's fun to play and fun to listen to as well. So I'm up for it.
Cool. I've been thinking about sort of how to approach it, and obviously just having the financial burden of like an album all arrive at once is just like you're like, oh shit, where am I going to get like 10, 15, $20,000
Oh yeah,
from
for
all of a
sure.
sudden to just
I
do
think
everything
I
right
think
now?
people underestimate how much money goes into an album. Actually,
Yeah.
yeah.
But I was thinking about kind of doing it in chunks,
Hmm.
and I was just curious to know what you might think about this approach. I guess we're kind of hashing it out in real time in public here, so
Yeah.
I don't know, whatever. But like, I had this idea of like doing 3 or 4 tracks at a time,
Hmm.
and then maybe like releasing one as a single just to kind of keep the ball rolling, and just doing that like 3, 4 times.
Hmm.
I guess maybe what depends how many we do each time, but I think I want to have like current plan I think is a 12 track is what I've got mapped out.
Hmm.
So I guess it would be maybe three sessions doing 3 songs a time.
Yeah. I mean, it kind of it depends on where you want to go with it.
Yeah.
Whatever concept you have in mind, or whatever ideas you have musically speaking as well. If it's all supposed to be a bit different, or if it's some kind of uh, dramatic change in the dynamics or stuff like this.
Yeah,
But
I can't
it's
remember if I
yeah.
showed you the concept or not, but kind of got
I
this
think you sent me some sketches,
this
some
sort of idea
scribbles.
about
I yeah
going sort of out, starting from like the sun and then going out through the
yeah
planets and all the different elements of the solar system, and then
yeah
each layer has all these other different corresponding elements that kind of lock in, and those are going to be the I guess the guides to write
yeah.
towards. And
Somebody, sorry if I interrupt. Somebody was always asking when the Ocean are releasing Space
yeah.
Pelagial. So this reminds me of this guy a little bit, actually. Yeah, I like the idea.
but someone was like, I've talked about it with a couple of people, and they were just like, well, what are you going to do about drums? You're just, because then
Yeah.
you're just like, they're all going to, if you're going to do it like in different sessions, it's all going to sound different. And
Mm.
it sort of got me thinking that like, I mean, like, why is that? Like, it's only really metal and hardcore, right? Where everyone has this mindset where it's all got to be, everything for the whole record's kind of got to be on the same sort of setting of like
Yeah.
the same drum kit. Whereas you'll have
Yeah.
like pop records or like soul records or whatever, and it's like some tracks will have like a completely different set of percussive instruments, and like,
Oh,
or
for
like
sure. Yeah.
3 or 4 different
Different bass
drum
drums.
sets, like sets across
Yeah.
the whole record. And I'm like, well, why can't I do that
Yeah.
for like a blackened post metalcore or whatever it is record?
I mean, you absolutely can, and I think you
Yeah.
should as well. I have always used different snare drums as well if I had the opportunity. If it even on the Phanerozoic albums, there's different snare drums. It doesn't really maybe it doesn't really show because in the mix it kind of gets
Mm.
equalized in a way. And also in pop music and other genres, if it's being mixed, then the mixing engineers try to kind of find some coherence in the sound. But by all means, man,
Yeah.
I don't think it matters as much.
I think
As
it'd be
long as it
cool.
fits the song.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah. Because
I agree.
at this stage, I got like, I think three guys, maybe 4 guys kind of on board to like write a bunch of different songs for it, and
Hmm.
so it'll kind of be like could probably record like each contributor's like block together because some of them will have to like
Yeah,
fly in to Melbourne, and it'll just be like, all right,
yeah,
we'll bang these tracks out, and I guess we can kind of just go back and forth with basic program drums and see what you think with
for
any
sure.
kind
Yeah,
of
I think it's
co-
always a
co- ideas,
yeah.
so you don't get locked into having to play it a certain way if you think it might work better another way. I don't know.
Yeah, I like I said, I work with Simon this way as well. You know, for me, it's always also nice to. It's a different creative process somehow to program drums,
Mm.
but it can also be nicely challenging. You know, to make sure that you program stuff that is maybe you haven't played it like this before. You know, you can try out different approaches and see if it fits the music better. And you don't have it recorded yet. You know, it's kind of you can still edit and delete things the way you want before you kind of glue it into a recording.
Yeah, it was interesting. Like the demo for Ash
Mm.
was written as MIDI,
Yeah,
and then when it came time to recording it, like Pat, the guy who wrote it, was like, "Fuck, like okay, I've got to actually play that now." Had to kind of
yeah,
get his head around a few things because it was just too chaotic to
yeah,
kind of directly translate from MIDI to human hands.
yeah. I have that sometimes with fan stuff where I'm thinking about guitar riffs as well, you know, and the tunings are just like super weird. So you have to make sure the tuning is aligned with your fingers as well, so you can actually play it. But yeah, I don't know. I like it. It's a nice way to explore different aspects of music without actually having to know how to play the instrument
Mm.
necessarily. You know, I don't play cello, you know, so I can still program cello if I want to, if I have a good idea. If I have a
Was
musical brain, you know.
what was drums the first instrument you learned, or did you come at it from a different
Um,
direction?
Actually, no. I started with piano when I was a child. Um, for a couple, I don't know, it was not very long, maybe 1 or 2 years
Mm-hmm.
until the teacher hit my hands when I played wrong, which was the 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 red flag for my parents to not send me there anymore. And then I played some acoustic guitar as well. Um, it's kind of my, I mean, my father's a musician as well, so I've always been surrounded by instruments in a way, you know. Picked it up here and there, you know, blew into the trumpet or whatever. It's just not saying that I was able to play the trumpet, but um, it gives you an idea of the cosmos of music in a way. So yeah,
So, what kind of
piano,
musician was your
guitars.
father?
He still is a musician. He's a singer songwriter. Mainly writes German, kind of like folky pop music, I would say. He used to play in a band called Ungelenk, um, which was a little bit of a comedic approach to German folk music. And they used to tour a lot, and he plays trumpet, guitar, piano, you name it.
Nice.
It was a different music education when he grew up, you know, at university, and they had to learn all that shit. They had to know how to play it.
Mm.
Yeah.
Well, I am pretty keen to go get some dinner, Paul, but it has been lovely chatting.
Please.
Is there anything else you'd like to say before we wrap this one up?
Uh, I don't know. I'm also happy to have some lunch now. It's yeah. No, I'm happy you invited me into your little podcast and to join you in the Run project. I'm excited and happy that I was able to contribute to this, and looking forward to doing more of it.
Hell
For
yeah.
sure.
It's really kind of special for me to have you on board with Run. So I really appreciate you giving me the time of day with it and actually doing it and smashing it as hard as you
Sure, man.
did.
I tried my best, and I'm happy you're happy about it.
Thanks,
Yeah,
man. Thanks for your time today as well. And I'll no doubt talk to
for
you
sure.
sooner than later.
Yeah, thank you.
Enjoy
Take
your
care.
lunch, Paul. Catch you later. Thanks for listening to Music Is My Life. This podcast is self-produced by me, Lachlan Watt. I'd like to thank Audio-Technica Australia for providing the high-quality equipment that has made this possible, as well as Patrick Galvin at Hollowbone Studio for the design. The killer theme music that you are currently hearing was written by the legends TJ Cowgill and Sam Saljuki. Catch you in the next episode.